Choosing the right singing teacher, it can be the make or break of your successful progression as a young learning singer.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
Every singing teacher has something to give you, has something to teach you. Some singing teachers have more to offer than others, but every singing teacher has something to give you. That's really important as we go along here and we talk about this topic. The first thing I want you to think about is if you're in the game of wanting to learn to sing and you are thinking that you need a singing teacher, and incidentally, private one-on-one lessons is the gold standard of learning to sing. There are other ways of doing it. That is why I have online courses, because not everyone can either afford the money or access the right teacher, afford the time. There's a whole range of reasons why a student might not be able to engage in private tuition. When you are looking for the teacher, these days there isn't a lot of reason for a teacher to not have had done some level of formal training. Whether that be them doing an online course in learning to teach singing, or whether they've done a formal pedagogy course through a university or a college. And in the time that I'll have been teaching 29 years next year. So I'm just approaching the end of my 28th year of teaching. In that period of time, the amount of information that a teacher really needs to grapple with and get their head around is quite significant. And so you want to make sure your teacher is kind of around that. Again, your teacher does not need to know everything, but they do need to know where to find the information that you may need to assist your particular learning. You also want a teacher who has kind of done it. You really do want your singing teacher to be able to kind of sing. If I was wanting to learn to dance, which I don't have any desire to do, but if I wanted to, I'd kind of want my teacher to be able to dance. Firstly, I'd want them to be able to show me how to do what I'm going to learn to do. So it's the same thing with singing, but not only can they sing some scales, can they sing a song? What sort of performance experience have they had? These are really important questions. No single thing that we're going to talk about today as we go along is an absolute deal breaker, including this one, your teaching style. Not every teacher is going to lockstep with every student. I think the more experienced you become as a teacher, and I think this has been my development, my experience as a teacher, the older I get, the more experienced I get, the more I am able to meet a student at where they are at. And therefore, my teaching style is able to really connect with a student's own needs, whether it be learning preferences, whether it be repertoire requirements, just whether it be personality. One of the really wonderful things about my job is I get to meet such a variety of people from all different walks of life, from all the different stratas of the social ladder economically, and that's a real joy. I love that. And so I need to be able to meet a person as they come through the door and meet them for where they're at. And I'd encourage you to find a teacher who you feel that you can really connect with and really, lockstep with. The other thing too that they need to be able to do is the teacher needs to be adaptable to your skill level. There's no sense in them throwing a whole heap of exercises at you that you're really not ready for, and you want to know what does your teacher specialize in. Me, in point, I am a contemporary singing teacher only. I do not teach any classical. That is despite the fact that I did 2 years of classical voice at the Queensland Conservatorium of Music under excellent classical teachers. And I was a founding member of the 10 Tenors, and at the time we were quite a classical group. And so I've even got professional performance experience as a classical singer. But that's not my bag when it comes to singing. And I've really honed my craft as a teacher around contemporary vocal. But it's really important that you understand, what does your teacher specialize? You can ask this when you make an inquiry. Equally, if your teacher is a brand new teacher, they might not yet know where they're going to eventually in their career as a teacher specialize, and so that's okay as well. We all, every teacher, me included, we all have to start somewhere, and it does take a little bit of time for your teacher to know where are they going to specialize, but it's just important for you to be able to recognize and know, well, where are you going? When you've been teaching as long as I have, it's likely that your teacher will have gathered some success stories. It is likely for a teacher who has been teaching for as long as I have that they will have a range of students who they have taught over the years who have gone on to be relatively successful in their space. And so you do want to ask people, your prospective teacher, who have you taught? Again, this is not a deal breaker. They do not have to have taught Grammy award-winning vocalists. They don't. But you do kind of want to know that their students are doing well. And so ask after that. Ask after how their student body is going along. One thing you're going to pick up pretty quickly, I think, in a phone conversation is how well does a teacher communicate? Clarity of communication is key to your learning. Well, there's an old saying, if you confuse, you lose. And if your teacher, the way they're kind of delivering the information to you is kind of leaving you all in twists and turns and not knowing up from down, either, maybe at times they can just be asked to, hey, could you maybe go over that again? I didn't quite catch it. Or maybe that's their style of communication, or the craft of communication is not as well honed as you need it to be at that point in time. And so talk to them about that. You also want to make sure that their communication is constructive. It's my personal belief that teachers are here to encourage. We are here to be constructive in our feedback. We are here to be honest, but you can be honest without being hurtful. People are paying me to be honest. There's no sense in me completely gilding the lily and telling everyone, oh, yeah, you're amazing, when it's quite plain the room for improvement is significant. But certainly that, when we identify that need for improvement, every teacher can do that in a really positive and constructive way. So going on to the next one, and then I think we kind of have already touched on this, but let's just draw it out. You're not going to connect with every human being on the planet. It's just a fact of life, isn't it? There are some personalities that you feel like you just connect and resonate with, and it's just awesome, and you're like long lost friends. Where have you been all of my life? Alternatively, there are those people who, they're not bad people. You're not a bad person, but for whatever reason, you clash. Like it is, two heads being rammed together, and no matter how civil you might be, just something just greats, both of you. That happens. And a good teacher is going to be able to try to grease the wheels a bit of that, so that that is not, going to be a deal breaker. But over the years with my studio, there have been times when it's just not working. And I think the student knows it. I know it. And so I'm always keen in those circumstances for the chapter, the journey that we've taken together, albeit often in these situations very short, that we part friends, that we part in an amicable manner, in a mature manner. Of course, the practicality of the location of the teacher is going to be important. Is the teacher local to you? Don't underestimate the impact of psychological barriers to your learning. And what happens is when we have those psychological barriers in play, they erode our momentum. They dilute our passion, because we think, oh, gotta make that trip again. I love my lessons, but man, you want to make sure that however you're doing this, that you remove as many of those psychological barriers to your learning as possible. So one of those is going to be location. One of them can be accessibility. If learning online is going to work better for you consistently over an extended period of time, then learn online. You'll need to find yourself a teacher who has a really good online process, but there's plenty of those around now, including me, and you can certainly do that. So just be mindful of those sorts of things as you're thinking about, your teacher for the new year. Finally, you do want to be able to have the opportunity to have a consultation and assessment session with the teacher. Not all teachers, again, this is not a deal breaker, because not all teachers allow for that. In my case, I do have a first consultation session. During that consultation, you want to have an opportunity. Now, in my case, what we do is we do a 2-page analysis of the student's voice if they're in studio. And we look at data points like highest note, lowest note, breath prolongation. We do a spectrogram of the voice, so I get to see, what is the overall resonance quality of the sound that they're producing. There's a number of things that we look at. Online, what I'll generally get to do, because I can't do that consultation with students online, but what I can do is I usually get the student to have a sing for me. They'll sing a song or two that we've asked them to prepare, and we'll get them to sing, and I'm able to then make some qualitative assessment of what I'm hearing as they sing. It's a whole range of things that you get to do in that first consultation that are really important. There you go. I hope that's a whole range of things that we've just talked about there that we can talk to in regards to choosing a good singing teacher as you approach the new year. Again, private one-on-one lessons, they're the gold standard. They are. And you are going to get so much value. The reason why your one-on-one lessons are more expensive than, for example, doing an online course is because you get so much more out of a one-on-one session where the teacher can direct specific feedback to you in regards to your specific voice. Online courses are importantly designed to be a little bit more generic, a little bit more wide scope to sort of catch more scenarios with more voices generically. Whereas if you're looking for a singing teacher, you're looking for someone that's going to be able to really work directly, specifically with you, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing to do. I highly recommend it. That'll come as no surprise, will it? I highly recommend you find yourself a quality, experienced singing teacher using the list of things that we've just gone over. You won't regret it. Good quality singing lessons can transform your voice.